Hello. So we've talked a lot about how we can create variables and print stuff out in Python, but we haven't talked about how we can get information from a user in Python. So we're going to do the basic input today. And the way that the basic input works is we're going to need to use a variable. So let's create a variable called name. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the input function, and we can put in a prompt for what we're going to say out to the user, asking them for some sort of information. What is your name? And it's nice to use a question mark, I think, for that. And then we could print your name is followed by their name. So this is that same print command that we did before. And you may have seen some help pop up there for me. Idle does have some built-in help that will do some things. So let's see what happens, though, if we run this. So first off, we're going to have to save it. Let's do a quick save as. This says input. And now we can run our module. And it'll say, notice there's a prompt here. It hasn't gone down to that 3 chevron thing again. And it's asking for my name. So I will put in Stanton. And it says, your name is Stanton. So it took the prompt, whatever I typed in here, and it put in there. So let's run it again. Let's see what happens if I say, what is your name? My name is 123. Well, my name is apparently 123. That's a little weird. Let's also print the type of my name. I'm curious now. That's a little strange. So what happened to there? I typed in 123. What sort of type did I end up with? Let's see. 123. Ooh, so I'm a string. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, my name being 123 doesn't make a lot of sense either. But you'll notice that the input by default is declaring ourselves as being strings. Well, that's fine for names, but not so great if maybe we want to have an age. So how about age? Input, what is your, oh, I forgot my quotation marks. What is your age? All right. So in this case, we can now print your age is, and then put that in. And now we do want this probably to be a number, right? And let's keep those prints of the types as well. So we'll do a type of name and a type of age. And now if we run this, don't click the wrong buttons. If we run this, we can say name is Stanton and my age is 123. And we'll see that they are both strings. If we would like to force this into being something else, there's two functions that we can use. We can use the int function. That's going to force the input into being an integer. So now instead of being the string 123, this is going to be the integer 123. So, and sure enough, we can see that type got changed right there. Well, that's useful, but what if we type in the wrong thing? Let's find out. So we know the string was okay with it. We could have 123 as our name. What if we say our age is 5.2? Well, in that case, we're going to have an error because that's not an integer. So let's use the other one. Instead of an integer, let's use float. So float's going to take this and it's going to put it as a floating point number. So let's run our module again. We'll say our name is 723 and our age is 991. And it was okay with that. It kept it as the string 723. But look at the age. It became 991.0. Because even though I typed in an integer, it translated it into being its floating point equivalent. So let's run it one last time and do it the right way. And we'll see what we get. So I'm going to come over here. And you'll notice my cursor's in the wrong spot. It won't actually matter, but it's always nice to click it back there. And we'll say I am 22.5. And we say that's our name, that's our age, and everything's set up correctly. So we can use this int open parenthesis or float open parenthesis as a way of forcing our inputs into a particular type. So again, we've only talked about 3 types so far. They're the 3 most common types. So by default will be a string. Otherwise, we could be a float, or we can also be using int. We can use an int. You may say, well, is there any way of forcing something into being a string? Sure, we can do that. let's print out the string version of age. So str function is going to print out the string version of age. So we can now run module again, type in some information, and you're going to see that it's the same thing, but this is now going to be the string version of it, as opposed to the float version of it. That's the only difference. We could try and also print out the integer version of age, but this is not going to go so well for us. You'll notice that when it did that, it didn't throw an error, but we sort of lost some information. So be careful when you what we call downgrade something from being a float to being only an integer, because you're going to lose some stuff. Okay, so that's how we can gather input and how we can then make sure that we're setting it to be the correct type.